Oh, what about ye? 2014 Vauxhall Insignia, and this one's been on the channel before. It was in, what do we do? How do we look at it and fix the electric windows? And yes, rumour has it, it's an ex-police car and also a taxi. Yes, an ex-police car, and there's also evidence that it was a taxi as well. So the last time this was on the channel, we did a video on the rear electric windows weren't working. We'll put a video up here in the cards if you're interested in that. Basically shows that there's a weak point in the wiring loom, the passenger side of these cars, these Insignias. And water gets in, rats the wiring out. But anyway, so what this car was in for really was an inspection. Now I don't do MOT inspections, it's done by a government agency over here. So, but what I was doing was looking at it, you know, to see what it needed. The guy just bought the car, and there was practically no MOT left on it when he bought it. So I discovered the rear brakes here were bending. The handbrake cable wasn't releasing very well. There's a broken spring, just the one, we replaced the two of them, and I've just cleaned up the brake pipes. So anyway, see these handbrake cables? They are a disaster. What do you see? I'll just open the door here. So there's the handbrake cables there, underneath the rear carpet. And to get at the handbrake lever, I'll just take that bit of wood out. It's holding the carpet up. Well, you have to take the center console out to get at the mechanism, the clipper in. So that's it. That's it in there. So that's it, the two cables. So lovely. What a design. Let me see. Brakes were bended on the front, but that was just because, you know, spring clips all mucky, dirty, you know, so they're bent a wee bit. The front left was bad. The other complaint was this inner CV boot. It was leaking grease, axle grease, just out of the end of it here. So it had a thermoplastic one on, you know, a stiff one. I like these soft, rubbery ones that you can clamp it down. I could have just reclipped it, but you know, it wasn't actually ripped, but it was oozing out the end. And as a result of that, it was getting onto the belt and making the belt squeal. It was making a mess all over the place. That thing out there was all covered in grease and all down there. So we've all cleaned up. So the original ones on it are the thermoplastic type, these sort of stiff ones. And it was leaking out that part of it there and making a hell of a mess. In the back there as well, let me see, in here, and you can see a wee bit remaining of the grease there. So let's see, it's firing it up around the alternator as well even. So that's the reason for that. Just a point of interest, if you ever have to do that, the intermediate shaft there that goes into the gearbox, that splits off the intermediate shaft. So that pulls out, just, you know, there's a round clip on it, just like the style if it was in the gearbox, you know. And these brake lines here, PVC covered, they were absolutely manking, bogging with muck. And it looked as if somebody had actually put grease, copper grease or something over it. Because it took a fair wee bit of cleaning, you know, with brake clean their eye just. But they come up butte. So they were claried in muck, you know, half an inch thick of muck on the whole length of the line. And the MOT inspector, he does have the right to feel that for failure, you know, unable to inspect. And he doesn't know whether the brake lines are any good or not because he can't see them. So I'll just take you over for a wee second and we'll get on to the main part of the video. Vauxhall's rear springs. So anybody that works in these Vauxhalls will know this, I'm sure. So rear spring, nice and girthy here. The last wee bit, the last wee sort of pigtail is skinny, and that's where the brake. They'll do it. So the brake where it gets thinner. You know, the ones I put in are the same girth the whole way. And there's his brake cables, handbrake cables. There, and they are dealer only available. And they had to come from Opel in Germany because no dealer had them, apparently. That's the coil springs I put in there, by the way. So there's a wee bit of work left. That's the back seat lying there, and that's the centre console. So somebody said to me one time, how do you remember where all this stuff goes? How do you remember to put it back in there again? When, yeah, sometimes you wonder when you can't remember where you put the tool you had in your hand 5 seconds ago. Okay, so I've dropped it down a wee bit, and yeah, well, the next thing I need to do for this MOT preparation is, we identified this in the last video as well, that the horn doesn't work.
Why do cows wear bells round their necks?
Because the horns don't work.
Well done.
So I've already done a wee bit of testing on this, and I'll run that over again with you just to show you how far I've got with that. So if you remember from the last video, there's cut wires all over the place in this car, probably because of its history, and these clips all over the place. I don't know what they're for and what's been going on. I've tidied the loom up, this loom here up a wee bit. That was just hanging in the breeze. There's a few chops there as well. There's a fuse box lid off, and I'll just show you how far we've got with this. So I've already done a couple of really quick tests to see what the crack is with this horn issue. So an absolute essential for MOT, you need to have a functioning horn. I'm not very high tech here. I'll just set the microphone here somewhere, and I'll pump the horn a few times. So if something happening there, and well, that proves the switch anyway. So without going to the bother of looking at a wiring diagram, I just googled fuse number. Horn is supplied by fuse F51. So, well, we'll take out with a pinch of salt, but we'll see. So let's see now, fuse 51. Horn circuits are usually pretty simple in cars, you know, it's just grounded really at the steering wheel, you know. So it usually doesn't go through the body control module or any of that nonsense. So test lamp just on the battery negative there, and in one of the sides of that wee loop thing there, wee fuse loop. So you need to try both sides, like, but there we go. So we've got as far as there. So, right, we'll need to look at the horn now. I'll just do a quick check while we're here. Let me see. Fuse on. Battery positive. And yeah, fuse can take a bit of load. So we'll just put that back in again. All good there, it seems. So I have to keep in mind, you know, there's loads of wires cut in this thing, and this car has a checkered history. And another thing that I just noticed was, see the grille here of the front of the vehicle? There's a hole there. That looks supposed to be there, but that's cut out, I think, for maybe lights or something. There's it on this side, and maybe some sort of bracket behind it. So anyway, right, okay. So we don't know what we're going to find here. You know, I was thinking maybe, well, I actually know, I've already looked at this, as I said. We'll take you up in here. Hold on. So we have wires and spade connectors dangling there. Don't know what that's for, but way up there is a bracket, and that bracket is supposed to be where the horns are, and there isn't any. So that's as far as it got the last time the car was here. So I ascertained there was no horn present. There was no sounder. So this is an eBay special here. Less than 20 quid. 2013 Insignia, and I chose this one deliberately. So there's that bracket we saw, and there's nothing bolted to it. But I went for this one because in the picture there's a connector and a couple of bits of wires, a couple of wee tails, long enough for me to go onto, because I don't know for sure, but I think these wires are just cut, and something else was put in its place. Okay, so I'll get this car back down again, and well, I think I'll pull the front bumper off. Okay, bumper's off, and this car's full of surprises. So there's our little spades, and that goes on to, give you a bit of light here. Well, it goes on to something that's sort of original looking. There's our bracket. What I actually thought from looking up from below, I thought that was the wiring for it, to be honest with you. And it's on to, it looks like it's stuck on the bottom of the headlight there. So it's an aftermarket plug of some description, and we multi-core wire on there, and we'll have that plug. We know what that's for, and that's the fog light. If we go across the front, there's this thing. It's an aluminium tube with a slot on it, and then it goes on to some sort of pipe there, some sort of flexible pipe. Down there, I do not know what this is. Anybody who thinks they know what this is, then chime in the comments. And there's this bracket thing here on this side. Did that go into there or something? And we'll have wiring here, which is cut. And there's a plug here, which was connected. So let's just show you the bumper. So this bumper has one of these radiator blinds. Let's just move across here. And so that's that. Okay, and that is that big plug there, which should go up in there, I reckon. Looks as if it lives there. But we'll have all this stuff. There'll be multi-core wire there. So just cut. And all this here. Carry on. I don't know what this is at all. So there's that bracket we saw behind the grille. And there's that cut part. And then we'll have this other limb here. So it goes down. It just loops back in itself. And it goes across over to here. And it just loops back in itself there. And it says jam here. Harness. But when I follow that, it tees off here, up and behind it there, bit of foam, up into this wee fancy bow there, and onto that, all that stuff. So at first I thought that was maybe, for parking sensors or something, that aren't fitted. But it's connected onto this stuff here, So it goes down onto here. And connector Delphi, it says in that. Yeah, I'll connect it there as well. So I just don't know what all that is about. Any ideas? Blue lights. So when the car was in the last time, you know, I saw that there was no horns, and took a punt and got them. So just basically told the guy, well, there's no horn present, and we'll have just this bracket, which looks the same as that. So yeah, so this seems to be the wiring anyway of the horn. So it looks as if the original horn's been removed deliberately, possibly, and then maybe in its life when it was a taxi, they've needed a sort of aftermarket horn, and now they've it's gone. But anyway, we'll do a wee quick test on these wires here. Right, test light on the battery negative, and we'll get you down here. I'll hit the horn, see what happens. Here we go. So that's good. So we'll just swap around the black wire and see what we've got. We'll move that across up here. Onto the battery positive. So, good ground there. I've stripped this spade thing back here to the original wiring, and we'll have brown and grey and a black, it looks like. So, wee bit of luck here. Well, that's the reason why I did it. I got that horn with the plug on it. So our wiring colours match. So it's just a matter of getting her joined up. I bought one of these wee old Milwaukee portable irons here. I saw Big Matt using one. So I says, right, I have to have that. And well, when I got it at first, I thought it was very bulky in the hand, you know, for soldering iron. You know, there's a wee light in the front of it and all that. Carry on, you know. And well, I have a few Milwaukee tools, and I have Milwaukee batteries on the M12 there. So, you know, I says, may as well, might come in handy. Rather than dragging leads everywhere, stuff like that, especially in cars. Especially when I done that wee repair inside this car. I thought this would have been handy. So it works quite well. These are pretty skinny wires here, so it's not really testing it out much. Heats up in a relatively short time, less than a minute I'd say, and seems to do a job. I'll see if I can leave a link for that. I bought that body only. I'll see if I can leave a link for that. That was 65 quid, and you get two tips. You get a pointy tip and a flat tip, and I'll see if I link it in the Amazon store there, you know. And when you knock her off, it puts that red light on to, you know, cool down. So yeah, that's first time use. Just those two wires are. So yeah, but I'm actually pretty happy with it. It's actually quite handy because you can set it on the ground. Yeah, moment of truth. Let's see. I'll give her a dunt here. I'll turn the volume down for headphone users. Here we go. So there we go. That's well, that's the car prepared for MOT, and well, I just have to put it back in there again, as you can see. So that's it. Maybe get something out of it. Maybe went on a wee bit. There's that wee by there. It's still cooling down. The red light there says it's cooling down. So there you are. I think it's pretty good now. Okay, maybe get something out of it. Oh, and anybody knows what that thing is, give us a shout in the doobly-doo.